the week. We have the solar eclipse in is it a yeah, it's a solar eclipse. I always get those mixed up. New moon eclipse in Aquarius on Friday the 17th on Tuesday. We have Pisces season beginning the next day. Then we have the Saturn Neptune conjunction on the 20th. If you've already seen my class I did on this in my membership community in the video library, there's tons of classes I've taught on astrology transits, human design transits, the basics of astrology and human design, and so much more. I did a deep dive class on the Saturn Neptune conjunction and the movement of Saturn and Neptune into Aries and what that's going to look like for us over the next 3 years, over the next 14 years. And I went into the history of the last time we had a Saturn Neptune conjunction. Last time we had one, it was in Capricorn. I believe I might have talked about this last week. Went deeper in the class that's in the membership, and also just to help you prepare for it. That's really what we focused on in the class, how you can support yourself in preparing for this big shift of energy in the collective, and also where to look to in your chart to understand more. In my membership as well, you can get personalized insight based on your chart too from me and from others. It's really a supportive community. There's a forum in a comment section under each class to ask questions and post your chart and get feedback. So that lives in my membership community. If you've already seen the class, you know what I talked about inside, that this is really beginning a new era for all of us, living more in alignment with our instincts and our intuition, using our intuition to really discern whether or not things are right for us at the start instead of experiencing painful situations over and over and over because we're not using our discernment when we make our decisions. We're just basing our decisions based on fear. And I myself have been learning that lesson a lot, especially the past year, as we've already had this transit of Saturn and Neptune into Aries. So we already got a glimpse of it last summer. What was going on for you last summer in the area you have Aries in your chart? Because now it's getting a revisitation and it's being shown to us in a way that's more integrative, that's more embodied in the lessons that we've already kind of had a glimpse of from last summer. It reminds me of that movie, You Know What You Did Last Summer. That's like when I keep mentioning like what happened for everyone last summer is getting a revisitation right now. Like, anyways, it reminds me of that. But yeah, so that's what's happening right now, especially this week. We have the conjunction because last summer it never actually went conjunct. They got really, really close. But on Friday, the 20th, they are going to join each other for the first time in Aries at 0 degrees in literally thousands of years. So it's a pretty big deal. And this week is really kind of the buildup for that new chapter and that new era that we are all entering into. We can no longer exist in old paradigms, in old versions of ourselves, and old stories and old belief systems. We fully have to step into the new right now. And everything is kind of falling away from our lives that are not meant to go with us, are not meant to be with us in this new chapter and in this new paradigm that we are entering into this year. And it all really starts now. Also on Tuesday with the eclipse is the Lunar New Year. So this week is when we're really going to start to feel a new energy ushering in. I really feel like the Lunar New Year is more of an emotional renewal time and energy. The moon rules our emotional drive, how we are expressing our emotions and that part of us. So that to me is really what the Lunar New Year specifically represents. And then we have the Solar New Year about a month out now when Aries season begins. Like I said, we also have Pisces season beginning this week. So there's a whole lot of new. But we are also in a Mercury pre-shadow. Mercury retrograde pre-shadow began on February 11th. Mercury retrograde is going to start on the 25th of February and go until March 20th. Kind of a long one this time around. And we're getting a glimpse of what's going to come up for us during the retrograde itself right now as Mercury is in pre-shadow. So those are the major things happening this week. We're going to have a lot moving through. Like the moon is going to move over Saturn and Neptune as well the day before the conjunction. So there's a lot of emotional momentum towards everything we are beginning at this time as well. A lot of focus on Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries in your chart. So wherever you have those signs in your chart is going to be the major focus. We'll cover that in general in each horoscope. But yeah, those are the major players this week and the big energy contributing to really this how do I say, like the rocket is launching this week, like contributing to this rocket launch, we could call it. So yeah, let me feel into if there's anything else I want to add about this week's transits before we get into the horoscopes. One more thing I'll say as well is because this eclipse is in Aquarius, we're getting a little foreshadowing into the next eclipse cycles we're going to have in Aquarius and Leo. The nodes shift in the summer. I believe it's like the end of June, the beginning of July, when the North Node moves into Aquarius and the South Node moves into Leo, and then that will kickstart us on a new cycle of eclipses in those signs. So this eclipse being in Aquarius is giving us a little foreshadowing into what that's going to look like and what change it is going to further amplify in the areas we have Aquarius and Leo in our chart. So that axis is becoming more and more important as the year progresses, especially because like a year from now, we're going to have maybe a little less than that. We're going to have the North Node on Pluto. So that will be a pretty big deal. I mean, 2027 has always kind of been a big deal because there's just so much happening that year in my brain of like, oh, we start a new cycle in human design that year. Like there's a lot. And as I'm researching the transits as we get closer to 2027, I'm like, oh, this is a pretty big year. So 2026 is really stepping into the new to be prepared for everything that's changing and going to continue to change over the next several years, as we usher in a new paradigm of society and all the old systems and things really crumble in ways that that are overdue, that they've needed to. So that's the last thing I think I'll say about this week before we get into the horoscopes. Yeah, Tuesday's eclipse is going to give us a little foreshadowing into the second half of 2026 and what 2027 will look like. So with that, let's get into the horoscopes. Okay, Aries Rising, we start your week off with the emotional focus on your long term goals and visions. There might be something that you're really feeling called to like they're to take action on. There's a lot of emotional focus and drive on your community, your long-term goals and visions, maybe social media even. So if you have been kind of toying with taking action in those areas in some way to move into a new direction, like Monday's really going to be a lot of momentum towards doing that. Also stepping into the first half of this week, there's a big push on stepping into new spiritual practices or ways of dealing with your mental health, the subconscious, really looking at things that are underneath the surface for you in a big way. There could also be on Tuesday with this eclipse, something that you're realizing you want to change with money as it relates to long-term goals or visions, or social media or community in some way as well. And then later on Tuesday after the eclipse, the emotional focus shifts into your area of subconscious mental health. So again, there's this amplified focus on what are you doing to take care of your mental health and really balance your mindset, how you're caring for your mental and your spirituality with maybe spiritual practices or things like that, balancing that with how you take care of your physical health as well. As we get into Wednesday, that just amplifies. There might be something you have a realization about. There might also be a lot of harmony that you experience between healing something in your subconscious, maybe a childhood wound or something related to home or family. There's a lot of there's a lot of harmony between really just looking at the deeper emotional aspects of things, and there might be a big emotional release as well, maybe in your mindset, maybe related to what came up with the eclipse the day after it on Wednesday. Then as we get into Thursday, there's a continued focus on your subconscious, your mental health. This might be a good time for you as well, these 3 days, to really kind of go out in nature, spend more time alone. And now that Pisces season is beginning in your area of the subconscious, it's like you're really what's going on in your mental space and your mental health is getting a is a being illuminated, is getting a huge push and focus. Um, so that is going to continue to be something that you're focused on. And the Saturn Neptune conjunction we have is in your area of you. So there's a huge focus on related to that. How are you committing to yourself in new ways or more like it's like kind of a wake up call related to you in this major new chapter that's starting for you, your sense of self, your identity. There might be some big thing that you're stepping into as it relates to that. Maybe even changing something about your appearance, feeling renewed with that in some way because of something, and that rippling out into every other area of your life. It's like really getting a kind of confidence boost and maybe needing to do something to spark that. But either way, on Thursday and also Friday, there's this sense of a notion emotional renewal, as well as maturity and renewal in every aspect of you and stepping into a major new chapter. Friday, though, later on Friday, there could be something challenging that happens related to that maybe is conflicting with your home or your family in some way, or again, maybe kind of has you look at deeper childhood stuff or things that are going on in your subconscious in order to heal a wound that's still there, maybe related to appearance or identity. That could also be something that kind of comes to a close on Saturday. Maybe there's an emotional release around even um as you really like step into this new chapter. It's like what emotionally in you, maybe even in your body, has to be let go of. And then later on Saturday into Sunday, the emotional focus shifts from you into your money. So there might be things that you're focused on really like doing to build up your money or change your finances in some way, maybe related to what came up with the eclipse, about long-term goals, visions, community, social media, all that kind of stuff. So that's how we end out your week, Aries. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Taurus Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your career, your public image. There might be something you're really wanting to take action on, to really do. There's a big push and emotional drive towards doing something in your career, maybe differently than you have done before, or launching something, putting something out there to the world is a big focus, especially as we gear up for the new moon eclipse. That's where it's going to be for you in your area of career. But it could also challenge some sort of change you've been making in your sense of self or identity the last few years, and could really propel you to evolve something about you, your sense of self, how you view yourself, how you're embodied in these things that are changing about you, and bringing that more into your career, maybe even, and kind of setting intentions towards some new project or beginning in your career that you want to do or make happen over the next 6 months. So that is Tuesday that we have the eclipse happening there for you. And later on Tuesday, the emotional focus shifts into your long term goals, visions, community, social media. So there's a big emotional focus on that area of your chart, in that area of your life, and on stepping in some big new direction there. There's also a need for you to bring embodiment into whatever this is. Maybe if you're sharing creative or spiritual things over social media or to your community in new ways, that maybe has been building for you over the last year or so. There's a big need to like really take some action on it, and really start to share it, really start to put it out there. And that will be a focus Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday as well, but especially Tuesday and Wednesday. It's like, what are you doing? How are you taking action? There's a lot of harmony on Wednesday towards sharing something related to this, maybe communicating something, an idea, some information, with your community or on social media in some way related to what direction you've been stepping into there. Then, as we head into Thursday, the emotional focus shifts onto your subconscious. So that's where you're going to have the Saturn Neptune conjunction as well, and where there's this big new beginning happening for you, Taurus, is in your inner world. Maybe related to your inner sense of confidence or belief in yourself. There's a really big need for you to look at maybe what has been going on underneath the surface, that still needs some love, or still needs some like accountability, or needs to be dealt with, right? It's like you can no longer hide from what's going on underneath the surface, because it's also related to these identity shifts that have been taking place for you. And there's this really big need, yeah, to just look at things. And there might be some big Thursday and Friday emotional release related to that as well, as that's kind of where the emotional focus is going to be for you as we end out the week. There could be something challenging about that on Friday, maybe with communication or with how you're taking care of yourself in your routine, things you maybe need to adjust in order to have a better self-care routine or better support system, for yourself and your needs. Saturday, there could be some big emotional healing. Again, maybe some emotional release related to all that that's been coming up for you. But later on Saturday, it feels like whatever you deal with, whatever you really look at underneath the surface of things, you come out better on the other side. It's like you emerge from the cocoon and you really have a big emotional renewal, as we end out the week related to all of this that's been going on for you. There could also be later on Saturday some big shift, in your career because of that. And it could really, again, challenge you to step into this new version of yourself and really be embodied with it and integrate it fully into who you are and how you're showing up, in the world. So that's how we end out your week, Taurus. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Gemini Rising. We start your week with the emotional focus, on your perspective. It's really on your mindset, how you're viewing the world around you, the belief systems that are contributing to that. There could be something that you really need to like take action on as it relates to stepping into a new worldview, a new way that you view the world around you, a new perspective on life. There could also be something you're wanting to take action with as it relates to education, either learning something new or teaching something. Could relate also to international stuff or travel affairs, things like that. If that applies to you, take it as it resonates. This is also the area of life you're going to have the eclipse on Tuesday. So there's a big push and momentum towards stepping into a new direction with, again, your perspective, maybe even your spiritual practices or your spiritual beliefs, really stepping into those in major new ways and having some new chapter with all of that. Later on Tuesday, the emotional focus shifts onto your career. So again, there might be things that you're learning or teaching, and that's kind of bleeding into your career and what you're building as your reputation or wanting to be known as, wanting people to know about you or see about you or recognize about you, right? It's like the emotional focus the middle of the week after we have this eclipse is really on your, how you're perceived, your image, your career, what you're doing in order to build that. There's a lot of emotional drive and emotional focus towards stepping into some new direction there, even more fully than you have, because it's been a focus for you the last year. But there's a lot of momentum towards doing it now and really stepping in it more fully, especially on Wednesday, as we have yeah, just your career is getting a big illumination as we begin Pisces season. I mean, it's going to be a huge focus for the next month, starting this week, of like what you're doing there, what direction you're headed with it, and really fully embracing it. There could also be on Wednesday a lot of ideas that are flowing with your career, maybe with money related to a new direction you've been heading there. There could be good conversations you have about career, things related to that as well. As we get into Thursday, the emotional focus shifts into your long-term goals, visions, social media, community, what you're building there. There's a really big need for you to put a lot of energy into building something, some new foundation within your community, your long-term goals, visions, or social media as it applies. And there's a big emotional focus on that, especially on Thursday and Friday, because that's where we're going to have the Saturn Neptune conjunction for you, is in your area of community. So it's really beginning to be a focus of your life to start building something there, and embarking on some new chapter, again, probably related to career, probably related to all these other areas I've been talking about, and maybe how your goals have shifted to better line up with all of that as well. But on Friday there could be something a little bit emotionally challenging with career, or with friends, with community, maybe social media, that is maybe challenging your ability to expand in finances. Um, it's kind of just a temporary emotional challenge that forces you to evolve in some way, but there's also a lot of harmony happening from it. So it's kind of like reframing how you see it, instead of seeing it as like, oh, this is so annoying, or this is a setback. It's something that's actually helping you to get further into alignment, even if it may not seem like it in the moment. And on Saturday, there could be something emotionally triggering that comes up around that as well, maybe from social media or community, and kind of propels you into healing some sort of identity related to those things. As we end out the week later on Saturday and into Sunday, the emotional focus shifts into your subconscious and your mental health. So there could be something, some big perspective shift that you have as well, that starts at the beginning of this week. And then as we progress and out the week, it's like this big aha, this big breakthrough, that kind of takes its time to build all week. And as we end out the week, it's like, oh, okay, that's what that was. I see it clearly now. That's kind of the energy. So let me know how that shows up for you, Gemini. I love to hear from y'all. So let me know in the comments. Um, yeah, how that exactly shows up, because it feels really exciting, even if it might be a little challenging in the moment, on and off all week. But yeah, I'm excited for you. So let me know, and we will see you. I'll see you next week. Hi, Cancer Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your resources, more specifically, your shared resources. This could be with a partner, this could be debt, taxes, inheritance, investments, things like that. There's a lot of emotional momentum towards doing something in that area of your life, towards having a new direction, a new beginning with it. This could also apply to spiritual gifts, or like a spiritual awakening that's maybe been happening for you. Maybe needing to like integrate that more into your everyday life, kind of thing as well. And that's where we're going to have the eclipse for you also. So there could be some realization you have, there could be some sudden change with resources, or money in some way, maybe related to something in your community or your long-term goals or visions that has been changing over the last 7 years. It could feel really frustrating Monday and a little bit on like early on Tuesday. Those two areas could feel really conflicting, but I do feel like it's gonna force you to evolve in ways that are needed, and maybe do something or step into something that's a little bit unconventional for you, but ultimately gets you to where you've been wanting to go. There also on Monday is a really big need for you to just have faith and really believe in where you're led, And remember that it's all happening for you. Like there's a lot of focus on this time as well, to remember like a positive mindset and to really reframe anything that happens or any challenges that come about is something that's actually like a redirection and like God's protection is that's kind of like the energy. And really just remembering that this week is going to be super helpful for you, especially later on Tuesday as the emotional focus shifts into your area of perspective, how you're viewing life. So there's a really big need for you to just remember that, and not get swept up in the chaos is it's easy to do. There's also a really big chapter starting this week and really building all week in your career and in your public image, and your reputation. So it's like you're really embarking on building a new legacy for yourself, and there's a lot of focus on that this week as well, especially as we end out the week. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. On Wednesday, um, there could be a lot of harmony on Wednesday. Maybe you have a helpful conversation with yourself or with somebody in your life that kind of helps you to remember your faith and see things differently. Could really help you as well to step into a new sense of yourself or your appearance that has been building also. On Wednesday, too, we have Pisces season beginning in your area of perspective, mindset, belief systems. There could also be something you're wanting to teach or learn, that you're needing to kind of maybe step in a direction with, like either pursuing higher education, taking a course, something like that, in order to step into this new direction. It feels like there's a lot of support towards that on Wednesday. And then Thursday, the emotional focus moves on into your career, your public image. So again, there's a lot of momentum towards building something new for yourself, in terms of what you're known for and really like your legacy. There, I think I already said this, but there's a lot of momentum this week, especially on Thursday and Friday, towards stepping into some new form of um your public image and your career. But on Friday, there could be something challenging about that with like how you're learning to support yourself and stepping into a new era of self-support or a new image for yourself. There could be something just emotionally challenging that's like a temporary kind of mood or phase or something, that comes up around that, but also forces you to evolve, something about yourself, and maybe even again like have faith in yourself and really believe in what you're doing and what you're building, even if there's things that just don't line up yet how you want them at the moment. It's like trust in your trust in your process and that you're led to it for a reason, and staying committed and disciplined to it is going to build it over time. There could be something on Saturday that comes up around that as well that maybe is healing for you in terms of, again, like seeing things differently and maybe stepping into a new identity, sense of self around all of that also. Later on Saturday, the emotional focus shifts into your community, your long term goals, visions, social media. So there could be some really big change that solidifies for you later on Saturday and into Sunday, maybe related to what came up with the eclipse on Tuesday. And it's like, okay, now is the time I'm really like feeling more in a groove with things and feeling more embodied, and how you're showing up and how you're staying on the path of your vision and of your dream and really fully just feeling more aligned with it. So let me know how that shows up for you, Cancer Rising. I love hearing from y'all. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Hi, Leo Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your relationships. There could be a really big change in the people you have around you this week, especially on Monday. There's maybe something you're wanting to emotionally act on or feeling emotionally driven to do with relationships with people. This could also look like someone in your life maybe watch out for like aggressive people on Monday, or like emotionally charged conversations, or things like that. There could be something around that, maybe directly challenging what's going on in your career as well. Um, it's kind of like, don't let that like, if something does happen with somebody, don't let it stray you away from what you're doing in other areas of your life. But there's a lot of focus on your relationships at this time and stepping into a new direction with them, especially early on Tuesday. It's where we have the eclipse for you. This is a brand new beginning in terms of the people you have around you. This could be romantic relationships, but this also is anyone that's not you. So all of the people that you have around you, there's this big new cycle emerging, in a major way, with friends, with all relationships, and even how you relate to other people, and who maybe you're realizing you want around you versus who or what kind of people you don't. Later on Tuesday, the emotional focus shifts onto your resources, debt, taxes, inheritances, investments, and there's some new direction, you've been heading with that area of your life over the last year. And at this time, you might get more emotional clarity around it, or where you want to go with it, what you want to do with it, maybe even like money itself and what you're doing with money, where it's going, maybe even where you're how you're bringing it in, because of changes with your work or with your career. Feels like a major focus Tuesday and especially Wednesday. There could be some helpful conversation you have about money with somebody. Could even be like in a meditation or having a conversation with yourself, to really look at what's going on underneath the surface to maybe cause repeating patterns if that's been a thing for you, in order to further heal your mindset around it. And that is kind of what what leads us into the energy of Thursday, which is the emotional focus shifting onto your perspective, your mindset, your belief systems, and how that's playing into your experience of life. There's With the Saturn Neptune conjunction on Friday, there's a big need for you to really step into a new direction with your worldview and your philosophies of life, how you're viewing, the world around you based on your mindset and your perspective. So there's a lot of emotional focus there, and on really being disciplined with, maybe remembering faith or spiritual practice, or a positive mindset practice, really remembering to commit yourself to viewing life, in a helpful way that's going to support you moving forward. On Friday, though, later on Friday, there could be something about that maybe challenges, again, some subconscious belief, or maybe, yeah, something that was like maybe a traumatic memory for you. There could be something that feels conflicting about where you're headed with viewing life and where you kind of have been with it. But I do feel like as we get into Saturday, there's going to be, some emotional healing there, and that will really support you in having a new perspective, having a new lens of life and how you view things. There could be a lot of breakthroughs that just continue to come as the week progresses, and by the weekend, there's this new, really, how do I say, like, perspective. I hate to like overuse that word so much, but there's this big new perspective that's clicking into place for you. And on Saturday, later on Saturday, the emotional focus moves on into your area of career. So there's a lot of focus at the end of the week on maybe bringing something forth about what's happened to you, into your career, or to be known for it in some way. And it could challenge what's changing about your relationships, as well. But again, it's just kind of forcing you to evolve in maybe unconventional ways and step into some new career that you maybe didn't think you could have or be successful with. Or again, there's some aspect of unconventionality to it, like, something that is just maybe a little bit different than what everyone else is doing, but it feels really aligned for you. And so there's a big need to really take action on it, as we end out the week and as we head into next week. So that is your week ahead, Leo. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments. I'd love to hear from y'all. So keep me updated, let me know, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Virgo Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your physical health or work and kind of what you're doing on a daily basis to balance both of those things in your life. There could be something on Monday that you really feel an emotional drive to act on or to do or to implement there, maybe related to what's been changing about work or your day to day routine for a while. And now there's really this big push to be committed to it or disciplined with it in a new way and to have some big new chapter there for you because that's also where we're going to have the eclipse is in your area of routine work physical health. So there could be some major change you want to implement or just again like I said be more committed with at the start of this week in order to really have that take hold and build something different for yourself over the next 6 months. There could also be something about that challenges or directly conflicts with how you're viewing life, with your perspective, with your worldview that maybe you've really been doing a lot of work around changing and stepping into, a new mindset, new practices, with your connection to spirituality or just to like how you manifestation and how you view life in general has really been changing over the last 6 or 7 years. And so there's a big push as well to step fully into some new way that you view the world around you related to what's changing with work and health. Later on Tuesday, the emotional focus moves into your area of relationships. So there could be, a lot of people that are supporting you at this time, a lot of people that you're maybe meeting or have been meeting. And there's a big focus on putting your emotional energy on your connections and your relationships, maybe even reaching out to people, certain people for certain types of support. Or maybe this is, an emotional focus on your romantic relationship as well. But it feels more friendship, more community based, especially on Wednesday. You could be having some really inspiring conversations or motivational conversations with people related to what you're doing or changing about your vision, your long-term goals. Again, all kind of related to who's around you. And maybe even there's some aspect of discernment that you need to have with like not scattering your energy too much with too many different types of people and like getting clarity on what that looks like for you. Maybe you need to have a conversation with somebody about it or getting clarity, like I said, through a conversation with somebody. um, yeah, that's kind of like how your middle of the week is gonna go. If it really does feel like busy with friends and community. So just be careful not to overscatter your energy. Thursday, the emotional focus moves onto your resources, your money, your investments, taxes, debt, investments. Did I already say that? Inheritances, things of that nature. Could also be spiritual gifts or like if you're going through some sort of spiritual awakening, like there's a big emotional focus on that as we end out the week. That's where we're going to have the Saturn Neptune conjunction for you. It's in your area of not only money but also like your inner world, and like your inner sense of metamorphosis and your inner world psychology as well as vulnerability and intimacy. I mean, this area rules so many different things about our like inner world and psyche, and even feeling supported by money and through others and stepping into some new form of worthiness of like understanding your value and really embodying it in ways that might bring in money for you unconventionally or in um related to something you've been needing to commit yourself to or be disciplined with. um there's some big new chapter beginning with money related to all of that as we end out the week, and a big emotional focus on Thursday into really like taking action on it. Friday though, there could be something challenging about that and what's going on with community, what's going on with friends, maybe even what's going on with social media or your long-term goals and visions as well. Maybe there's like, okay, I want to do this, but I don't know, am I worth it? Do I have value? Like there's this kind of push and pull. But it also feels like again, your relationships are really supporting you at this time to step into whatever this thing is. And it's kind of like lean on lean on the people that you need to really like kickstart your inspiration or your motivation, to build discipline and commitment with this new chapter. There could be something emotionally healing about that as well on Saturday that kind of just clicks in your subconscious. And then later on Saturday, the emotional focus shifts onto again, your mindset, your perspective, really embodying in this new thing and viewing life differently because of it. There could be something related to that again challenges your ability to change what you want about work or health, but it's an emotional temporary emotional setback, and it's going to again force you to really evolve the way you view things, and evolve the way that you take action on whatever this is that you're building, and really do it from like thinking of your future self who wants this has been dreaming of this life or this vision, um and you have to like be that person now, right? That's really the energy as we end out the week for you, Virgo. It's about embodiment, um and really solidifying in like your mindset, and once again calling on your community and your relationships to support you in that. So that is your week ahead, Virgo. Let me know how that resonates in the comments. I'd love to hear from y'all. So let me know, and I will see you next week. Hi, Libra Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your dating, your romance, maybe, if not that, then creativity, your passions. There might be something on Monday that you're really emotionally driven to take action on as it relates to those things, to really step into a new direction. I mean, that's also where we're going to have the eclipse for you, is in your area of creative passions, what you're creating, what you're putting out into the world, as well as dating and romance, and stepping into some sort of new beginning with that, setting intentions to do something differently in that area of your life. And maybe even related to money, like maybe there's something challenging about money, debt, taxes, inheritance, investments, that you're needing to really push yourself, to have some new beginning in creative passions to benefit your money and maybe whatever is going on there as well. So that's going to be a focus Monday and early on Tuesday. Later on Tuesday, the emotional focus shifts into your area of work, of routine. So there might be a lot of creative momentum and inspiration. Like maybe you got an idea to do something differently Monday or Tuesday, and it's like middle of the week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's really time to take action on it and to really fully move into that direction. Whatever you do for work that is related to creativity or spirituality, like it's really about moving into that direction now, really fully stepping into it. This could also apply to your health or your routine, maybe even like balancing those two parts of what you do on a daily basis. um there's a lot of emotional momentum towards that on Tuesday and especially Wednesday. There could be some helpful conversation you have, with somebody, maybe a coworker even, or somebody you talk about work with or talk about health things with on Wednesday, that maybe supports something you're stepping into and reflecting on changing, or expanding in your career and your public image to maybe just build some new, um, how do I say, reputation for yourself, or to really step into something new with your career in your work. There could be a really, helpful or inspiring conversation you have on Wednesday around all of that. As we head into Thursday, the emotional focus moves onto your relationship. So there could be something you're really needing to get, clear about. So there could be some emotional clarity that comes about on Thursday related to, a relationship in your life, whether that's romantic or that's friendships or that's coworkers. It's anyone that's really around you at this time. There's a whole new chapter that you're stepping into with relationships in general and the people that you have around you. So there's a really big need to like kind of get clarity, especially emotionally, on what you're willing to commit yourself to build something long lasting with your connections and with the people in your life. And that's where we're going to have the Saturn Neptune conjunction for you, Libra, is in your area of relationships. So it's really like, what do you want to build here? And what, again, are you willing to commit yourself to and be disciplined with as it relates to your relationships. And maybe there's a need for you to release in a big way some old identity that has maybe been operating within your relationships. That you it's kind of like maybe a triggered version of yourself, or an unhealed version of yourself is kind of acting out. And it's just coming up to show you again, like, oh, I don't want this anymore. Like, I don't want to take this with me into this new chapter with my relationships. Like, I want them to be different. I want them to reflect to me the healed version of myself as opposed to the triggered one, right? So it's like these triggers are coming up as a last hurrah to kind of show you still what's there underneath the surface so you can do something about it and commit yourself to the new. And there could be a big emotional release around that Friday or Saturday. Saturday there or Friday, sorry, Friday, there could be something about relationships that maybe is challenging, career, your ability to expand there as well. Maybe you're kind of pulled in two directions on Friday with like, okay, do I hang out with this person, or do I like, film a YouTube video or whatever it is? Do I like really build something in my career on with this time, or do it's kind of like this tug of war energy. There could be something emotionally in relationships that pulls you away from your ability to focus on career, but it's just temporary. And then again, it brings up this kind of old, outdated version of yourself that was showing up still in relationships, and that, you're realizing you don't want to take that with you into the new. So Saturday could bring some big emotional healing around that. Later on Saturday, the emotional focus shifts onto your resources, your money, debt, taxes, investments. So there could be some emotional clarity that happens there. There could also be something about that is challenging your creative passions, or challenging about romance or dating, and changes you're wanting to make to those areas of your life in a new era you've been stepping into in that area of your life. There could be some, because of money, like motivation to create something and really like take action on it and put it out into the world, and maybe an unconventional way. There's something about that too, like doing something different to kind of bring in money than maybe you had been doing before. And that's really how we end out your week, Libra. So let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Hi, Scorpio Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your home, on your family. There could be something that you're really feeling emotionally driven to change in that area of your life. That's also where we're going to have the eclipse for you on early on Tuesday. So there could be some really big new beginning that happens in that area. Whether it's you getting a new home, choosing to move all of a sudden, that's maybe a different place than where you had previously imagined yourself living, that kind of thing. It could also challenge something about a relationship, or maybe somebody in your life is kind of challenging your ability to have this new beginning with home and with family. So there's something about that comes up to the start of the week. And then as we get later into Tuesday, the emotional focus shifts onto your passions, your creations, what you're creating. That is a passion for you, maybe even romance or dating as well. There's some new direction you've been headed with those things in your life since January of last year. And there's a really big need to take action on it. Tuesday and into Wednesday, like there's a big illumination and emotional focus on this area of your life. Maybe launching something that's creatively inspiring for you, or that's related to creativity or spirituality that you've maybe been wanting to step into. Like there's a big need for you to really push yourself and do this thing and step into it in a big way, especially Wednesday. There could be some conversation you have with somebody on Wednesday as well that's helpful for you in order to step into this thing. And there's a lot of support between that area of your life, like your creative passions, and what's changing about your perspective or what's changing about your spiritual practices as well. So it's really about remembering your faith as you align yourself with this path and really move in maybe a whole new direction. It's like really remembering your faith and remembering that as long as you're trusting your instincts, your intuition, you're on the right path. And that's where you're going to have the Saturn Neptune conjunction as well, is in your area of work, day-to-day routine, and really trusting that this path is the one you're led to for a reason. Could also apply to physical health as well. Maybe you're really focused on balancing, not overworking yourself. There could have been a lot of wounds around that you've been dealing with over the last 6 years, and right now is really showing you like I physically cannot do that anymore. And so you're changing the way that you go about your day. You're changing your routine, and your structures and your schedules to really align with what you want moving forward instead of where you have been. Um, Especially Thursday and into Friday, there's a big focus on that. And there's a big illumination of something in your creative projects or passions. Friday, the emotional focus moves into your work and your day-to-day routines, physical health. Again, illuminating emotionally what needs to be committed to and what you need to be disciplined with as it relates to stepping into fully this new path and having this new beginning. But later on Friday, there could be something emotionally challenging about that, in your perspective. Maybe again, like kind of calls into question your faith a little bit. But again, trust as long as you're moving in alignment with your intuition, you're on the right path and it's all going to work out, even if you don't know how or when yet. There could be something on Saturday that is emotionally triggering about that, that you have to kind of face and really surrender an old version of yourself who would constantly question things. It's like releasing an old identity and being kind of triggered to in order to see that it's still there and there's more release that needs to happen around it. So you step into the new. Later on Saturday, the emotional focus moves on into your relationships. There could be something emotionally that's challenging with somebody in your life, and also what's going on with home or family, a change you've been wanting to make there. But again, it kind of forces you to look at things differently and evolve something about how you're going about it, or evolve maybe what you want to do with that area of your life entirely. So, that is how we end out the week for you, Scorpio. Let me know how that resonates in the comments. I love to hear from y'all. And, yeah, I'll see you next week. Hi, Sagittarius Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your communication, on your day to day routines and errands as well. Maybe there's something you're really feeling emotionally driven to change about how you go about your day to day. And maybe even how you like connect to your intuition about how you communicate yourself, who you're talking to, what you're talking about, where you're going on a daily basis. There's maybe some big emotional drive to change something about that in some way. That's also the area of life that's going to have the eclipse on Tuesday. So there could be some big new beginning you're embarking on there. A sudden kind of change in like how you communicate yourself, how you share information and ideas, in order to align with where you actually want to go, and what you're realizing you want to do or how you want to go about doing what you're doing, and stepping into some new major direction, and embarking on a change, maybe even related to work or physical health, as well. Really going to challenge you to evolve those two areas of your life in some major way. Later on Tuesday, the emotional focus moves into your home, family, subconscious. There could be something that's really illuminated emotionally as it relates to those things. You might even be spending more time at home these couple days of this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and maybe meditating more, or like doing more things that help you to cultivate a spiritual practice, or maybe even creatively inspire you, especially Wednesday. There could also be some conversation you have that's helpful with somebody about home or family, that kind of helps you with what's going on in your spiritual awakening that's happening for you, or expansion in money as well, related to what's what's going on with home or what new direction you've been stepping into with home or with family as well. As we get into Thursday, the emotional focus moves into dating, romance, as well as creative passions. So there could be something that, and this is where we're going to have the Saturn Neptune conjunction on Friday for you. There could be some big new beginning happening with dating, with romance, with your identity as it relates to that, as well as how that's tying into your creative passions and what you're doing, what you're creating, what you're putting out into the world. Is really embarking on this new beginning, tied to a new identity that has been forming for you, maybe even since last summer. There's a big emotional focus Thursday into Friday on that, and really stepping fully into some new direction with it and committing yourself to it in a big way, and like embodying it. Like it's being to do the things you need to do to have what you want to have, right? It's really about this embodying this sense of self, this identity shift. Um Yeah, especially on Friday. Like I said, that's where we have the Saturn Neptune conjunction for you. There could be something later on Friday about dating or romance that's maybe challenging what's changing in your money, or what's changing in your vulnerability or intimacy, as well as like I said, some spiritual awakening that's happening. There could be something about creativity or dating or romance that challenges that, but I also feel like there's harmony in yourself about this. It's hard to describe this, but it's like you're so rooted in who you are now that the challenges that occur don't rock you in the same way. Um, and that's kind of a big realization that comes from this on Friday. As we head into Saturday, there could be a lot of healing emotionally around that as well. And then later on Saturday, the emotional focus moves into your area of work, of physical health, as well as your routine. So there could be something you're maybe feeling emotionally challenged to change about work in order to align with this new you that has formed, in this new way that you want to do and go about life. And that's how we end out your week, Sagittarius. So let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Capricorn Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your money. There could be a lot of emotional momentum or drive that you're feeling called to do or act on as it relates to money, or bringing money in a different way. This could also be resources in general. Maybe you're like purging things, and really stepping into this new chapter with your resources, with your possessions, with money in general, and embodying something different there that has been kind of forming and changing for you for a few years. And now it's like, okay, I'm fully stepping into this now. That's also where we're going to have the eclipse for you on Tuesday. It's in your area of resources and money. So there's a lot of major change happening for you, maybe related to creative passions or dating, romance, however it applies. This new chapter that you're stepping into with money could directly challenge a way you have been going about sharing your creative passions, and there could be something you need to innovate about that in order to have this new beginning, and really in a way that's more aligned for you moving forward. Later on Tuesday, the emotional focus moves into your area of sharing ideas, communication, information, how you're sharing ideas and information. Also, your inner communication, how you're talking to yourself, as well as where you're going, who you're talking to on a daily basis. So, there's a lot of emotional focus on that Wednesday. Could be really busy, but also you could just have the serendipitous conversation with somebody that you run into about what you're doing and where you're headed with things. Maybe how you're, changing work, or changing your what you're doing for work in order to change your money, some new project, or sharing ideas, communication in a new way, and feeling more creatively inspired is really how the middle of the week pans out for you, Capricorn. As we head into Thursday, the emotional focus moves into your home and family. There could be something that comes about on Thursday or Friday with home, brand new chapter with home. This could look like moving or finally securing a place that you've been trying to make happen for a little bit. There's a big need. to emotionally commit yourself to this process of really rooting into your foundations in a new way, to further support what's going on in all these other areas. And that's also where we're going to have the Saturn Neptune conjunction for you, is in your area of home. So there could be something with housing or with family, that you're needing to really just commit yourself to in a new way. But on Friday, there could be something about that that challenges a relationship or challenges your ability to expand with people or with relationships in general. There could just be a temporary emotional conflict with those two areas, as well. But Saturday, it feels like whatever happens, it brings up maybe some trigger or some wound for you to look at emotionally, and further kind of release and heal to step into, a new version of yourself and a new chapter with home and family, however that applies for you personally. And later on Saturday, and as we get to the end of the week here, the emotional focus moves into your creative passions, your dating, your romance. So there might be more of a focus on that emotionally as we end out the week. And it could, later on Saturday, maybe challenge something about money or changes that have been happening with money or with resources. But again, it's a temporary emotional setback in order to bring you more clarity on what needs to change, and what you need to evolve that's actually more aligned for you moving forward. It could also propel you to speak up for yourself in ways, that maybe you would have avoided in the past. So there's that as well. And that's how we end out your week, Capricorn. Let me know how that resonates with you in the comments. Love to hear from y'all and how these are resonating. So let me know, and I will see you next week. Hi, Aquarius Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on you. There could be some new direction you're feeling really called or pushed towards as it relates to your sense of self, your identity. I mean, your life as a whole, your life in general is going through a lot of big changes related to you and what is majorly shifting in your identity or your appearance. Or just how you carry yourself, how you present yourself to the world. So there's a big emotional focus on that Monday. There could also be some needed release of aggression or something, like maybe needing to go for a run or a hike or a workout or something. Um, and that's where, this area of your chart is also where we're going to have the new moon eclipse, so on Tuesday, early on Tuesday, and that could challenge something about your home, something about family that's going through a change as well. Maybe something about that area that has felt really unstable could be really emotionally challenged with this eclipse. But it is kind of forcing you to cultivate security within yourself and really bring that into your identity, bring that into how you carry yourself through the world and how you view yourself, and how that ripples out into every other area of your life. Later on Tuesday, the emotional focus is going to shift into your money, your resources. So there might be some big new direction you've headed with money, with resources, possessions over the last year or so, that is getting an emotional boost this week. Especially, we're going to have Pisces season beginning in this area of your life. So there's a lot of focus on your money and your resources and kind of how the change that's been happening with you is trickling into what you're changing about money or how you make it, or what you do with it as well. There could be a conversation you have about that on Wednesday with somebody, in your life, maybe with a coworker or maybe about work or at work, something related to, your routine, your work, is kind of getting an emotional boost and focus related to money. I mean, this would be a really great week to just be gung ho about some new job or career or business that you're starting. If you're an entrepreneur or stepping into entrepreneurship, this is a great week, to really be fully moving into it and be committing yourself to it fully. Like, that, taking the leap, because the net will catch you. So that's a big focus, especially Thursday. I mean, we have the emotional focus shifting into your area of ideas, how you're sharing information, communicating yourself to others, as well as the inner communication that's going on within your head, related to this identity shift that's been happening and occurring. I mean, this is also the area you're going to have the Saturn Neptune conjunction on Friday, is how you share ideas, communication, where you go on a daily basis, who you talk to, what you do on a daily basis is really getting this new start, and stepping into this new cycle. And there's a big need for you to really discipline yourself to it and really commit yourself to this new chapter. Um, and there could be something about an old version of yourself on Friday or Saturday that is kind of triggered, maybe through work, maybe through a coworker, maybe through, yeah, it feels like really work or kind of routine oriented. So there could be something emotionally triggering about that. But I also think it's going to help you to see how much you've changed and how you speak up for yourself, maybe in ways that you didn't before. And there's a really big need to kind of integrate that into your identity and step into this new version of yourself further, embodied, further integrated, and really heal anything that has kind of kept you from doing so up until this point. And that's a big theme on Saturday. Later on Saturday, that's early Saturday. Later on Saturday, the emotional focus shifts into your home. There could be something happening with home or family that emotionally challenges, again, what's changing about you and your identity. But that kind of feels like a temporary emotional setback that maybe brings about some way you need to evolve those two areas or think about it differently to step into what you actually want moving forward. So yeah, that's how we end out your week, Aquarius. Let me know how that resonates in the comments. I'd love to hear from y'all and how these are resonating for you. So let me know, and I'll see you next week. Hi, Pisces Rising. We start your week off with the emotional focus on your subconscious. There could be something that maybe gets really triggered in your mindset, your belief system, something about a past life, maybe even, or something that was kind of hidden from you is maybe emotionally triggered to the surface on Monday, so that you see it, so that it doesn't keep kind of running your life underneath underneath the surface, running the show from behind the scenes. And that's also where we're going to have this eclipse for you on Tuesday. Pisces is the area of the subconscious. So there could be a lot coming to light right now about what has been going on for you underneath the surface of things, in your mental health. And that's becoming, more and more of a crucial focus in your life of how am I supporting myself mentally, as well as physically. But really, the focus at the moment is on your mental health and maybe having certain practices or things in your routine that really support taking care of your mindset, and healing any subconscious things that have been going on underneath the surface, especially as it relates to communication. Um, Later on Tuesday, we have the emotional focus shifting into your area of you. So it feels like, you deal with something that really you didn't realize was still there underneath the surface. And it creates this opportunity for emotional renewal in a really big way, and for you to further integrate and embody what's been changing about your identity and what new version of yourself you've been stepping into. There's a huge emotional focus on that middle of the week, especially on Wednesday. There could be something about that that is supported through dating or romance. Maybe even you're feeling more creatively inspired related to like whatever came up. Maybe it's like your muse, like whatever came up earlier in the week is kind of like your muse later in the week, to really support you into stepping into something or creating something or launching something into the world that maybe you've wanted to. There's like ideas, information, downloads, inspiration really flowing the middle of the week. And as we get into Thursday, the emotional focus shifts into your money, your possessions. Also, we have Pisces season beginning on Wednesday. And so, middle of the week and onward, there's really this illumination of your new life and what ways you're stepping into further this new identity and really embodying this new version of yourself that is more mature, that's more solid, that's more disciplined and committed to your dreams and maybe your spiritual growth or practices, as well as your creativity and how you're sharing that with the world. There could be something really big that you're embarking on as it relates to making money and all of those things, or however it resonates. But there's, as we end out the week, Thursday and into Friday, there's a big emotional focus on your money and having some big new beginning with that related to this new identity that has been forming. Friday, there could be something challenging though about money and what's going on with creativity or what's going on with dating or romance. It's a temporary emotional setback that kind of forces you to evolve what's going on in those two areas, maybe kind of look at something differently that you're creating, or maybe taking like your preconceived notions out of it in order to really just like do what's the path of least resistance and step more into that, into flow, instead of trying to force it to be something that is just not working. Saturday, there could be some big emotional healing with money or with resources, with your value, related to the identity shifts that have been occurring. And it's kind of like the final piece of the puzzle comes together for you. And there's maybe a big emotional release related to that from something that was triggered, in order to fully step into like the you that's busting out of the cocoon is what it really feels like. And then later on Saturday, the emotional focus moves into your area of day to day, your area of how you're communicating, how you're sharing ideas and information. So there could be this you end out the week with this new embodied way that you're sharing yourself and your ideas. And like again, it's like this new you emerges out of the cocoon, and it might have been kind of rough getting out of that cocoon, but you can fly now. So that's the energy as we end out your week. Let me know how that resonates for you, Pisces, in the comments. Let me know how it all shows up for you as the week goes on. Love to hear from y'all. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Next week looks pretty interesting as we are going to have the moon move over Uranus at the start of the week, really bringing about some big emotional shifts. It might feel really emotionally chaotic at the start of the week. And it's kind of like, oh my God, there's all this stuff is changing and it's all changing so quickly. Like, how do I get my footing um, in it or with it? And it's also kind of like challenging our ability to act on certain things because Mars is starting to square Uranus as well at the start of next week. And that will happen towards the end of next week. So it's kind of intense energy. We also have Mercury retrograde starting next week on the 25th. Putting the focus of our mind and our communication on reevaluation related to our spiritual practices or creative pursuits and things. And just, Mercury retrograde's not bad. Retrogrades are not bad. They're normal. They happen all the time. They give us an opportunity to reflect and to make necessary changes to refine what we have been doing in order to ultimately make it better. So, there's that, but we also have a Venus trine Jupiter, which looks really good. We're going to have the moon harmonizing with Pluto on Tuesday. I mean, there's good stuff coming from all of this. As always, that's my view of astrology. It's my Sag moon. I'm a blind optimist. But yeah, it feels like, there's no looking back. There's no looking back into what was. So grieve it, let it go, thank it for what it taught you and where it got you. But we can't really take it with us. So that's next week. We'll talk more about it next Sunday, and I'll see you then. So thanks for watching. Love you all. Bye.